Okay, hi again, Teens 5. This video belongs to your class number 6, which is titled Vocabulary number 1 and Writing Articles. In this video, I'm going to try and explain to you how to write an article, which might not be easy since this is the first time you do it and we're not together in the classroom for me to explain to you exactly how to do it. So I'm going to try and do it shortly and clearly through this video and through the information I have included in the class. Okay, first of all, what's an article? An article is a piece of text that usually appears in magazines, on blogs on the internet, maybe even on Instagram. These are informal pieces of writing that are descriptive, fun to read, and also informative, which is something very difficult to do everything at the same time if you are the writer. Articles are usually about some object, person, or place, and in this type of articles we try to describe that place, person, or object. Or they are argumentative, meaning that you give your opinion and your own experience about some kind of topic. Then, something very important as regards articles is to remember who the reader is. Your reader in general, and what I'm always going to advise you to do, is to imagine that your readers are either teenagers just like you, or your young and beautiful teacher. So this will help you to keep the text interesting enough for somebody like you. Okay, so you should always consider what you would like to read, which ideas would interest you. Okay, remember that these are informal pieces. I don't know if I mentioned that before, so it is interesting that you use the words you know, the expressions you know, and do not try to make it really complicated. Just keep it simple. Just use English as you know how to use it. Okay, then let's see what information you should include in these articles. The instructions to write your article are always going to include some questions. All right, so the most important thing is to try and answer those questions in your article. Okay, follow those questions, and by answering them you will already have your ideas. Okay, it's important to include descriptions, so a lot of adjectives. It's important to try to use real information and to give your personal opinion, experiences, or anecdotes. Then other thing that I mentioned is that these texts should be interesting. Okay, so but how do we do it? How do we write interesting pieces? Okay, the most important thing is that first you consider your reader. So as I said before, imagine what you would like to read, but I'm also going to give you some tips, some techniques in order to keep it interesting. The first one is to use a very nice, lively, catching title. Okay, the title shouldn't be very long. It must be, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 words at most, and it shouldn't be obvious or boring, or even it shouldn't be a spoiler, okay, of what you're going to write. It should try to engage the reader very quickly. Keep it mysterious, use adjectives. Okay, so the title is a very important part of the article. Then through the article, while you're reading and while you're writing it, try to talk to your reader. This means that you can involve the reader directly, writing something like, have you ever thought about staying at home every day? So these are called rhetorical questions. You write questions to which the reader, of course, is not going to answer, but you try to make the reader imagine the same situation that you are talking about. So making questions to him or her, or just directly involving him or her in the text, something like, you should try it, do you do this, etc. Giving clear making clear questions to your reader is going to make it very interesting. And I also suggest that you keep it very personal. Which I mean by this is the more personal you get, the more emotional you get in your writing, the more interesting it's going to be for the person who is reading it. So that's why I suggest you talk about what you know, your own experiences, your very personal life, your own anecdotes and stories, of course always related to what you have to write about. And then something very important too is the structure. We are going to divide this text into 3 or 4 paragraphs as we usually do. The first paragraph is going to be the introduction. You could begin this paragraph by talking to the reader or making a question and answering. The important thing is to present the topic. Do not spoil many things because this is just the introduction. It is a short presentation of whatever you are going to talk later. Then in the development, we are going to use 1 or 2 paragraphs. Here is where you answer the questions that you were given in the instructions. You give your opinion, you give descriptions, anecdotes, stories, information, whatever you were asked to do. Follow the questions because this is going to be the important content that you have to include. And finally, on paragraph 4 or the third paragraph, it's going to be the conclusion. Do not give new information on the conclusion. You just summarize, meaning you said the same that you have already said, but in a few words. And you give again your own personal opinion, and at the very end, like the final sentence of it could be another question to the reader or some kind of advice, so the reader ends the text and keeps on thinking about what you have written. Remember that paragraphs should be at least 4 sentences. Less than that, I do not usually consider it a paragraph. Okay, 4 sentences make up a paragraph. I know this is not going to be easy for you to do, so that's why I included my own version of the article of the instructions I gave you. So I suggest you follow my article. I wrote it especially for you guys. There you can see how I ask questions to the reader, how I involve it, and how I am only talking about my personal experience. You are going to write about the quarantine, the coronavirus, and everything we are living nowadays. So it's going to be very easy for you. I just expect you to talk about your own experience about this special time that we are living, and you can always follow my example to write your article. We are of course going to do version A. You can directly write it in the Word file where all the information is, and just try to simply write what you can. Don't overcomplicate it, don't overthink of it. Write at least 130 words. If you write more than that, it's fine. I'm not expecting you to use many connectors or anything or vocabulary. I just want you to write from your heart wherever you are experiencing. Okay. I hope this is a nice experience for you, so you can also talk about how you're feeling, and I am really looking forward to reading your texts. Bye again. I miss you guys. I hope we can soon be in the classroom again and going out on the streets. And I hope this video has been useful for you. Bye bye. Kisses.